Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. In my previous video, I taught you about what do you mean by edaphic factors, what are the various profiles of soil, everything was learnt from my previous video. And now in this video, we will be learning about other important topic, that is soil erosion. So, this is one of the important thing which we are worried about right now. In this particular point of lifetime, we are worried about soil erosion because we have a lack of plants, we have lack of trees. We are completely destroying the vegetation for means of various reasons here, for building our companies, for building our houses in a huge manner, and for the luxurious life which we are needed in this part. So, we are very much worried about this particular part of edaphic factors, that is soil erosion. What do you mean by soil erosion? Soil erosion is nothing but the removal of top layer of soil can be called as your soil erosion. What do you mean by soil erosion? There is nothing but the removal of the soil, the removal of the top layer of the soil can be termed as your soil erosion here. So, in the previous video, if you observe, I told you the various profiles of soil. So, what do you mean by those profiles? So, how the soil has been arranged, what are the different layers of soil? Out of those layers, the topmost layer was your humus layer, that was consisting of O horizon. In that O horizon, whatever the soil was there, that will be swept away, that will be removed away completely. That process can be termed as your soil erosion. So, what is the actual cause for the soil erosion? So, we understood what do you mean by soil erosion. Now, we will see what are the causes. The first important cause of soil erosion is wind. Second important is water. These two are the very important factors which are responsible for soil erosion here. So, if a soil erosion has to occur, these two will play a very important role. So, according to wind erosion, so whatever the erosion or the soil erosion that will be caused due to the wind can be termed as your wind erosion. And whatever the soil erosion that occurs due to the water can be called as your water erosion. If a soil erosion occurs due to the water, that can be called as your water erosion, and if it is caused due to wind, that can be called as your wind erosion here. So, now we have got various types of wind erosion as well as water erosion. So, we will be dealing here in depth of those three factors. So, what are they? In case of here, we will go for the wind erosion, the wind method. So, we have got three types here. One is called as saltation, creeping type, suspension. So, wind erosion occurs in three types here. They can be termed as your first type is called as your saltation, second type can be called as your creeping, and third type can be called as your suspension here. So, what do you mean by saltation? Saltation is nothing but breaking down of the particles. It is nothing but breaking down of the particles. We have got the soil particles in a clusters here. So, the cluster particles will be broken down in case of the saltation. Let us take an example. This is a particle of your soil. So, this will be broken down into minor units here. What are these things will be broken down into your minor things, that is the larger particle of your soil will be broken down into smaller particles. This is the first part or the first phase of wind erosion here. So, if wind erosion want to occur, it occurs in three phases, that is saltation, creeping as well as suspension here. So, what do you mean by this saltation is nothing but breaking down of the soil particles. The larger particle soil will be broken down. And what is the next one? Next one is called as creeping. What do you mean by creeping? Imagine this as a land or a surface here. Whatever the particles has been broken down here, that will be creeping on the land like this. Because the factor is wind. When there is wind, it will just move the particles. When that is moving on this particular surface here, due to various aspects, they will be still broken down into smaller particles. As you know, due to the friction, when it is moving, the smaller particles, when they are moving on the land, due to the friction, they will break down into lesser particles. That is the smaller particles. What are the particles? After moving, they will be smaller again, smaller again. Understood? This is the second phase of wind erosion here, that is creeping. Once the particles which has been broken down into smaller particles will start to creep here. They will start to creep here. They creep and form into still smaller particles. They will be composed into a still smaller particle. Then those will be undergoing for the last phase, that is suspension. What do you mean by suspension? They will be liberated into the air. Whatever the thing has been broken down, they will be less than that of 0.1 microns. They will be less than that of the 0.1 microns and they will be liberated. Or you can also relate it as released. So when you observe that, when you are moving on your bike or in a vehicle, you can see that the sand comes and falls onto you. That can be termed as your suspension here. That is because of soil erosion. So if you are going in a park, you will not get such kind of thing, because the park will be fulfilled with the top plants and trees there. If you find them also, it will be in a very lesser manner, but not in case of a wide highway, because in highways you cannot see the trees. That's not the left out part is only those trees which you can find here. Or if you are going in a barren lands, you can see more amount of soil coming onto your vehicle. Okay, that is because the suspension is happening there. If you observe such kind of thing happening, then that area can be said that it has been promoted to your soil erosion there. The wind erosion is occurring in that particular region here. So as I said, the wind erosion will occur in three phases, that is saltation, creeping and suspension. Whatever the larger particles of your sand will be broken down in the first phase, that is called as saltation, and they will start to creep on the surface, or they will start to move on the surface, resulting in the formation of still smaller particles. Again, those smaller particles will again be liberated into the air, that result in the soil erosion. So this continuous process keep on occurring. Whatever the soil is found on the upper layer will completely be removed. That will be completely removed. So a area will be losing the soil over there. When the soil is lost, it is automatically losing its fertility also. That is what you mean by wind erosion here. And now we will be going on for the second type of erosion, that is water erosion. So water erosion usually occurs in three types here. First one is called as sheet erosion. Second one is called as rill erosion. Third one is called as groove erosion. Understood? So these are the three different types of water erosion we can see. First one is called as sheet erosion. Second one is called as rill erosion. Third one is called as groove erosion. Okay, now we will see what do you mean by sheet erosion. As the name says, let's take an example. This is a land. This is a land. If the area will be filled with complete water like this. Okay, so this is in the form of sheet. The soil will be removed over there. Imagine this is the land or a surface here. When the water is moving directly like this, it is washing away the soil along with that water. This is a primary type. This can be said as a primary type because the amount of erosion is less here. Okay, whatever the water is moving, it will take some amount of soil, that's it. Not taking away complete soil from here, it is taking away only a smaller particle of soil here or smaller composition of soil here. So that is a primary erosion we can say in case of a sheet erosion. It is taking away a part of a soil while it is moving from that area. Let's take an example. There is a slope. So when the water flows from a higher road to a slope, it is taking away some part of soil also. That can be termed as your sheet erosion here. But when I take an example of a rill erosion here, it is forming a finger-like structures in the soil. Let's take an example. This is the land here. So there is a continuous flow of water in that land. It may be like near your waterfalls or wherever you see. If there is some slopy area, they'll form the small rill or nothing but the fingerless structure like this one. It will be broken like this. The area will be completely broken like this in the form of rill. Or you just take a water hose pipe which you have in your home and leave it in the soil. If the water is flowing continuously in that area, it forms a small finger-like projection there. That is what you mean by rill here. The continuous flow of water in a particular area leads to the formation of a finger-like area or finger-like opening that can be called as rill erosion. So, if the water is flowing continuously, that forms small rills in that particular area, that can be called as what? Rill erosion here. And rill erosion can be called as a secondary type. This is harmful than the sheet erosion. The rill erosion is harmful than sheet erosion, but it is less than that of the groove erosion here. Here it is forming only rills in the land that is taking away some portion of soil greater than that of the sheet erosion. Let's imagine your sheet erosion is taking about 10% of soil, the rill erosion will be taking about 40% of soil. Okay, so such amount of soil will be removed and that will be washed away with the help of water here, leading to the soil erosion. And when we move for the last type, that can be called as groove erosion. Okay, groove erosion is similar to that of your rill erosion, but it is in a greater manner here. If you are having a smaller pipe and it is leading for a finger-like projection, if the amount of water there is more, so it forms a huge groove itself. Imagine, see in this land, this is your rill, means in an area it will be like this cracks, huge cracks will be formed here, that can be called as what? Grooves here. That can be called as what? Tertiary type. This one is more harmful because this is taking away a large amount of soil particle here. When there is more amount of soil particle removed from an area, that results in the formation of a third type of soil erosion, that is called as groove erosion. They are forming grooves. So, if you find that a larger piece of land has been removed, that can be called as what? Groove here. It is removed with the help of water here. So, water is playing an important role in erosion of that particular area, that can be termed as what? Water erosion. So, these are the two important factors which are responsible for soil erosion. One will be your wind and second one will be your water. That depends upon the area. Every area cannot be exposed to only wind or water, or they may be exposed to both the types also. It depends on the particular habitats or particular environment found in that particular area here. So, this is what you mean by soil erosion and what are the different types of soil erosion. So, here we learnt what do you mean by soil erosion, what are the various factors responsible for soil erosion and all the important types and what are all the happenings in case of those two types of soil erosion. And now, we should control the soil erosion. We have to counter this particular soil erosion, and what we can do. Those are nothing but the measures, or they can be called as soil erosion measures, or they can be called as what? Soil conservation methods. So, now we will be understanding what do you mean by soil conservation and what are the various types of soil conservation or various methods used for soil conservation here. So, what do you mean by conservation of soil? So, if you are not allowing a particular area soil to erode, that can be called as what? Soil conservation. So, I said a soil erosion is removal of a top layer of soil is called as soil erosion. If you are not allowing that to occur, that can be termed as what? Soil conservation. We have to conserve the soil, and there are various methods for soil conservation, and in this video we will be learning about two important methods, that is your biological soil conservation and mechanical soil conservation. So what are all the biological methods we can implement to conserve the soil, and what are all the mechanical methods we can use to or we can implement to conserve this particular soil will be understood here. So we will go for the various types of biological methods in soil conservation. They are nothing but contour farming, mulching, strip cropping, terracing and crop rotation. These are the 5 different types of biological soil conservation methodologies. Now I will be explaining one by one here. First one, that is contour farming. So what do you mean by contour farming? Imagine this is a piece of land here. In this land you have to maintain the contour, that is nothing but the shape. If you are cropping the plants in this manner, this will reduce the rate of soil erosion here, because and this method can be well used in case of a elevated positions like a hilly regions or a slopy regions. You can adopt this kind of cropping or this kind of soil conservation methodology to reduce the erosion here. If you are having all the plants in a single plane here, the rate of soil erosion will be more, because whatever the wind, whatever the water is coming, that will completely erode the soil from the top layer and will take away the soil from the crops also. But if you are planting them in a contour like shape, the rate of your soil erosion can be reduced, because the plant will be found on all the regions here. Okay, if you are using only small area here, the only that part will be conserved. But if you are using this contour shape like a U shape here, that will be like all the part of the area will be covered with plants. Okay, then you can have that the roots will be widespread in all the areas, holding the soil tight in manner, so that results in the reduction of your soil erosion. This is called as contour farming. In an area you have to maintain that particular contour like this. If you are growing like these things, this will be helping in the reduction of your soil erosion. So this is what you mean by contour farming. And next type, that is called as mulching. So what do you mean by mulching? So I will tell you one important part. If the soil is wet in nature for a longer period, it will reduce in the soil erosion, because when the soil is dry only, it will be taken away by the wind or it will be taken away by the water. If the soil is wet in condition, that will be holding tightly, the form of soil will be holding tightly. That ideology is applied in case of mulching. So what you can do for mulching? It is a simple method of soil conservation where you will be covering the area of plantation with some material. Let us take an example. We will collect some dry leaves or some hay or any other material, and now you will get an there is a separate paper called as mulching paper only, that will be covered on the soil. Imagine this as your land, and here your crops like this. In this format you have got your crops here. This will be covered by a mulching paper. This layer will be covered by a mulching paper, or you can use any other material or plant waste to cover this layer completely, so that it will reduce the rate of transpiration, it will reduce the rate of evaporation of water, resulting in the soil will be wet for a longer period of time, and this can reduce your soil erosion here. And we will go for the third one, that is called as strip cropping. You know, it is a simple methodology where we will be using 2 or 3 types of crops in a single field here. In one field, I will grow one layer of a regular plant. I will use a leguminous plant in between. What it leads for? The leguminous plants have a very root nodules that will hold up the soil in a better manner here. So I can alternate the things. In one strip I will be growing a regular plant, one leguminous plant, one regular plant, one leguminous plant. So you are getting a double benefit with that of usage of soil conservation. That is nothing but your crop rotation as well as strip cropping. Crop rotation is nothing but you are completely changing the crop. One layer will be having a normal crop here, and in the next set you will be growing only leguminous plants here. So that is what do you mean by crop rotation. They are literally similar to each other, but a small change. If you are using both the crops at a time, that can be called as your mixed cropping or strip cropping. But in a crop rotation, you are changing the crops in an two sets. First set a normal plants, second set leguminous plant, third set normal plant, again fourth set you will be having a leguminous plant. If you are continuing like this one, this will help in the conservation of soil, reducing the soil erosion here. So we learnt about what do you mean by strip cropping, what do you mean by crop rotation, and now we will go for the last method of your biological soil conservation, that is terracing. Terracing is nothing but growing the plants in an elevated condition. If you are having a slopy area, grow plant here, in the next elevation one set of plants, other next elevation another set of plants. If you are growing the plants like this in this manner, it reduces the soil erosion because it is found in all the layer completely. Okay, so you are growing it in an elevated condition, reducing the soil erosion here. That is what you mean by terracing. Terrace forming is nothing but increasing the that is altitude of the plant. One plant will be here, again here, another set here, another set here. If you are going in an elevated condition, that can be called as what? Terracing here. So these are all the various biological methods implemented to check the soil erosion. And we will go for the next methodology, that is mechanical method. So what do you mean by mechanical method? You are not using any biological method, instead you are using some instruments here. If you are using some instruments and trying to reduce the soil erosion, that can be called as what? Mechanical soil controlling or mechanical soil conservation here. Out of them, first one is called as basin listing. So let us take an example. This is your land here, a piece of land has been taken here and our crops here. In these crops, I will use an important equipment called as basin lister. There is an instrument called as basin lister which will literally help in formation of basins. So here it is a area of elevation. I have grown a plant here and here will be a furrow region like this. So what is the function of this basin lister? It will remove a part of the soil in between. Like I have a plant here, the either side of the plant region will be burrowed. It will be a bit burrowed here. That results in the region where the water can stand for some time and the soil can absorb more water. If the burrows are not made here, what will happen? The water will flow down in a continuous manner and it will not be absorbed properly by the plants here. But when a basin listing is used here, it will form that small furrows or small burrows there. So that results in the time being for water to stand over there so that the soil can absorb more water. As I said before, if the more water is taken up by the soil here, then that helps in the soil should be holded in a manner that reduces the soil erosion here. This is what you mean by basin listing, and we will go for the next one or the last one, that is construction of dams. So if you know an area where there is more amount of water is overflowing, there we can construct a dam. The dam need not be huge enough. It can be according to the situation, according to the place enough, so that it can hold the water which can be used for the next usage. That will be a better idea for your soil erosion here. So I will be ending my topic here. So we learned about what do you mean by soil erosion, what are the types of soil erosion, and what are all the soil conservation methodologies we can use to control this particular soil erosion here. If you like my content, please like my channel, share my channel and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the bell icon for the next updates. Thank you.